Good evening, welcome to the February, Wednesday, December 27th, regular meeting of the Swanton Village Trustees. My name is Chris Leach, I'm one of the trustees. Our president has got a family emergency and I'm not sure he's gonna make it tonight, but we can move forward for sure. We have a full agenda and some important things this evening, especially the 24 budget. And so let us start with a call to order. Would everyone please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Agenda review. We have any additions, subtractions, or moving around?
No, sir.
We're looking good. Okay. Approve and accept the minutes of Monday, December 11th, 2023 as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll move they be approved as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Approve and accept the village warrants through Thursday, December 21st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the warrants through Thursday, December 21st, 2023.
And I'll second, sorry.
Do we have any questions or discussions?
No, sir.
Eugene?
None for me.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Warrants are approved. I like this one. Appoint Daniel Chevalier, our new Swanton Village Fire Chief. Daniel, welcome aboard. Come on up. I want to shake your hand. The appointment is made official just by our decree and by the fact that we vote on it, which we already have.
Well, sort of, we've discussed it.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Daniel Chevalier as the new Swanton Village Fire Department Chief.
And I'll second.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No discussion. That was as easy as it goes. Shake your hand.
Come on up here, Dan. Congratulations. And then you're gonna go stand with them after. Okay. For photo. No, right now?
You wanna go stand over
Yep.
the flag and we'll
Yep.
take some pictures?
Do the trustees mind? Can we take a picture with you and the new chief, please?
Sure.
Bunny rabbit.
Right up on the
Anyone?
sign.
Yeah, wherever you pick.
Right over here.
Come on, you can get up closer. Go ahead. Get up there. It's okay. No problem.
Yeah, you're fine.
Very nice.
Congrats, Dan, you getting them? Did you get pictures?
That was it.
Yeah. I told it to.
Now I suppose I'll have to salute, right? No. No, Dan, this is a long time coming. You're the right man for the job. We appreciate your service.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, Swanton Village Police Department update. Chief?
Yeah.
All right. The
there are two packets that I distributed. One is for the village and one is for all of the numbers. It says village and town, but it's actually everything. So looking at the village, we had 95 incidents in the month of November. The top 10 incident types, you had 13 suspicious, 12 property watch, 6 traffic stops, 6 citizen disputes, 5 citizen assists, 5 community outreach, 4 agency assists, 3 crashes, 3 thefts, and 3 welfare checks. Out of those 6 traffic stops, 1 ticket and 5 warnings were issued. There were 8 arrest charges representing 4 individuals in the month of November. And then looking at the data associated for all of the incidents, village, town, and elsewhere, you had 202 incidents in total. In the top 10 incident types, there were 31 traffic stops, 22 property watches, 20 suspicious, 13 agency assists, 11 directed patrol. Looks like 8 juvenile problem, 8 citizen assists, 7 community outreach, 7 welfare checks, and 7 citizen disputes. Out of those 31 traffic stops, there were 10 tickets issued and 25 warnings. There were 14 arrest charges representing 7 individuals.
Quick question, Chief, just for my clarification. On the village town one, when the column for city, is that where the incident was, or is that where the person lived?
It should be, although in looking at specifically it should be where the incident was. So
Okay.
if you look at, so for example, the top one, we were assisting Mass State Police who were up here doing probably a 6-month plus long investigation at this point. So we were assisting them up in Enosburg, so you see that traffic stop there.
Yep.
And City of Enosburg. I will say that I have found that for some reason in the ticket data, it is occasionally populating the home address of the individual associated with that traffic stop rather than the actual location itself.
Okay.
It appears, just on the surface, you were real busy in the town.
They usually are pretty consistently. I can tell you on my way in tonight, the officers were responding to what sounded like a pretty bad crash out on 78. So there was a huge, they said it, I don't know, 400-yard debris field. So involving 3 vehicles. So they can be busy. And it's a good example of when, if one officer is not adequate to respond to something like that. You need multiple officers responding to a scene like that.
Right.
I'd have to go back and look at some of the other ones, but 14 arrest charges in the town. It seems,
Well,
You're busy.
that includes the village also, so if you look at the 8 is included in that 14, because it's town and village and
Yeah.
everything, so, in some of these investigations, especially we were working a few fraud investigations, you'll have multiple charges associated with one individual act of fraud.
I can gather that.
And just one other thing, I saw a little bit of the local news this weekend, and our counterparts in St. Albans were talking about the retail theft and how it had been getting out of hand lately. Are we seeing that here as well?
Not that I am familiar with or heard. It hasn't. I know we had a retail theft over at Hannaford's where almost a full cart was pushed out of the store. I want to say they were able to recover most of the groceries, and the person abandoned the cart and just left the area. So normally, and the interesting thing is, my understanding is Hannaford's has been telling their employees not to report those incidents, so they may be underreported. But in this instance, it was a third-party witness who called, so we responded to investigate that
Right.
incident anyway. But I'm not aware of at the other, larger retail locations, say for example, Obashan or Ace,
Mhm.
of a lot of retail theft.
Okay. That's all I had.
Just a generalization, is anything that stands out this last month that was out of the ordinary or disturbing, or just pretty much ordinary?
No, I'd say it's been pretty consistent, and the guys have been very busy. They're continuing to address the drug problem. It just, when we address one location, it just shifts and moves somewhere else. So they are, continuing to investigate cases. There's specifically 2 individuals I can think of off the top of my head that have, from out of state that we're aware of, that we're trying to put cases together. But again, it's these cases are very involved. They take a long period of time. It's not something where you just respond and they're able to come to some sort of resolution immediately. So they're continuing to do great work in that regard, and we're leveraging federal resources also to try to assist us.
Super. No, as a resident, I appreciate your efforts. I see your officers around town quite a bit, and I think you're doing a great job. Do appreciate, we have a lady with a question.
At the meeting of the trustees in the village, I had a criticism for the police department, and I feel it was inappropriate and unfair, and I want to apologize. If I had a concern, I should have come directly to you, and that wasn't right. So I want to apologize to you and your department and say I'm sorry.
I appreciate it, but yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have any concern or any citizen has any concern, they should feel free to come in, and then we're going to address whatever that concern is and try to, address the problem appropriately. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. That's what I expect from our Swanton people. We're really,
It's only right.
yeah, well, thank you. That's your efforts are appreciated here. Thank you. Looks good. Keep up the good work. Tell you guys thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Good night.
Okay, the 2024 budget discussion. Lynn, must be.
So the first thing that I have, before we jump into the budget itself, is I have our engagement letter for our audit. The audit's gonna be the week of January 16th. So we're gonna need for Bill and one of the trustees to sign the engagement letter so that we can have them come do the audit. So this year, the not to exceed price is $37,500 for the services for the audit.
37,500.
That's something that the public should understand. I don't believe every municipality does it this way, but we audit every year. And it's a full and complete audit for over a week.
Yeah, they're here about a week and then they have
Yeah.
field work or work
And-
back in their office.
And it's the appropriate thing to do. It's a little expensive, but it assures that we are spending your money properly and that we are doing our job as best we can. We've always had a successful audit, almost never had an issue, and I'm sure that will continue for years to come. Lynn does a wonderful job. She's our comptroller. That meaning every penny that gets spent gets her blessing, so. It's her we have to thank, and she and Diane that put together our budget.
Last year's budget was around 25.
Yeah, it went up about 10%. It's happening across the country. Audit fees, accounting fees are rising. Young people aren't going into the field. And the requirements in Vermont now is you need basically a master's degree to sit. When I took my CPA exam, you needed an associate's degree. So over time, I mean, there's that much more schooling, which drives up the salaries to be able to bring somebody on board and keep them. So in turn, it's a combination of everything, liability insurance, personnel costs are driving up audit fees. And that's not just with our firm, I'm hearing it across a lot of firms. You know, their prices are just going up because of their costs.
But last year, we were about 26,000.
Well,
remember
I
right.
split it amongst all the departments, so we were right about 29, I think, last
Yeah,
year.
okay. So we're up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're up about 15%.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's about 10. The electric department obviously pays for the
Right.
bulk of it because they're the bulk of the dollars
Yep.
across the village.
Okay.
So, yeah, why don't we have a motion for, because I need Bill and one of the board members to sign.
Can we get a
Doesn't
motion
matter
from the floor?
who, but,
I'll move that we have Bill and one trustee sign the, what is it?
the engagement letter.
The engagement letter, thank you. Yes.
I'll second the motion.
You wanna do that now, or
Sure.
would you like me to sign, or?
Sure.
So you need to sign on that page.
We need to vote on it.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna vote on it first. Okay, there's no discussion needed, let's have our vote. Can I,
1 second.
what's your pleasure?
I vote aye.
Aye.
We have to do it.
Okay,
We don't have much choice.
Right.
While you're signing confirmation that the village president is unable to join us this evening, he will not be here.
okay. Where do you want me to
You just
sign?
need to
Top
sign.
line?
Yeah, top line, top line. I'll fill out the rest of it, where it says title and stuff if you want. So now on to the budget. So some things that are affecting all of the departments. We have built in as a base 3.2% for raises. And then new this year, starting in July, when legislature was in session earlier this year, they passed the Child Care Contribution Act. So beginning in July, there is an additional tax, treated kind of like a social security tax, a 0.44% on wages. So that's a new line item that'll be in the budget.
Childcare?
Do you have the total on there?
Yeah.
I don't have the total, but I've got it on each one. It's called Child Care Contribution, and it's, the state's using it to help with access to childcare and to bring childcare providers.
Is that all taxpayers?
Yes,
All wage earners.
it's all wage earners. And even self-employed individuals will be taxed on this. The other thing, you know, you'll notice some of the labor line items are jumping more than the 3.2%. We are in the process of hiring an additional line person in anticipation of, to get them trained. We've got some people that are gonna be getting close to retirement in the next few years, and we wanna be able to, we don't wanna be in the position where we've got 2 or 3 apprentices and only like 1 or 2 first class.
Right.
And we've budgeted for an additional person in the water plant for safety purposes, basically. In the police budget, there is an admin person and another patrol officer. And then partway through the year this year, in anticipation of a retirement in 2024, we brought on a person in the public works. So that's in this budget. The other item that Bill and I still need to hammer out is in the highway department, and that's the fix to the bridge. And we've got the grant, but how much in addition to the grant and how we're gonna fund it, do we factor in? And the other thing, it impacted some of the departments more than others. Property insurance and workman's comp insurance. Some departments, the liability insurance went up quite a bit. Other departments, we saw a little bit of a decrease. Overall, we did see an increase in our property insurance in the village. So on page 1, which is the electric department, I've highlighted in yellow the items that I thought were more significant increases or decreases over and above the items that I mentioned. So our purchase power budget for 2024 is going to be 2.3 million, which is an increase of over the 2.2 million that we had. Hydro was really good this year so far. So right now, we're under budget through today of 707,000 in purchase power, but I don't have our December bills in yet because we lag an extra month for power supply. So that 707 is most likely going to be a lot smaller and will be closer to budget. But the budget for next year is the 2.3 million.
VEPSA's gone through that.
So VEPS is the one that creates that budget
Right.
for us. And I got the final number last week for it.
What's the trend of the wholesale power price?
So our hydros are behind the meter. So
Well, for us, but I mean for our contracts, if we're going out to buy power,
Fairly stable this year, actually, down from last year.
down from us. But yet our budget's gonna go up.
Depends, it all depends on Mother Nature and our ability to generate power.
right.
Better to be high than low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether we keep our generator
And
going.
I did have her, like we've done in the past, she did build a little bit of a cushion in there, not knowing what hydro's gonna do. We've had a couple of really good years, but in the last 5 years, we had a really bad drought year too. So she's built a little bit of a cushion in there, just to be on the safe side. It's not that significant though. I would say over a $2.3 million budget is not material by any means.
So you don't think we'll need a major price increase?
Well, what I've been doing the last couple of years is, after we get done the audit, I have VEPSA, we get into the queue for the utilities that are pending rate cases, and I have them run the numbers to make sure, so that we can catch the need for a rate increase as quickly as we can. The last 2 years, we have not needed a rate increase. This year, the budget is showing a loss, but that doesn't necessarily mean the need for a rate case, because the way they do it is you look at your prior year and then you adjust for known and measurables. Like for us, a known right off the bat is any changes, like we've got a new position. So that would be an add.
But in any event, we're in the low end of the.
Yeah, we're the third lowest in the state.
We're the lowest.
Yeah.
And how about New England? We used to be pretty low there too.
I don't know, because a lot of the other states around us aren't regulated.
Right.
So I don't know. The next, on page, I didn't have anything significant on page 2. We're still planning to spend, contracted out $100,000 for tree trimming. And we did increase the budget, which we kind of just moved the money from maintenance of lines labor to rights of way labor. Dwayne's expecting we're gonna spend, our crews themselves are gonna do more tree trimming this year. So we increased that budget from 25 to 50,000. But it didn't, it's just moving from one line item to another, because if they're trimming, they're not doing the maintenance on the line. On page 3, so the first highlighted one is our VEPSA fees, which VEPSA's the company that does all of our power supply, contracting and budgets. They handle any rate cases that we need. We use them for our consulting for, not software, but the IT. So it's going up. Well, it's going down, I mean, from 314,000 to 269,000. The next line down, though, is renewable energy credits. And that number is going up significantly, from 137,000 to 305,000. Renewable energy credits, if you've ever heard Bill or Reggie before him talk about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all of our tier 2 requirements are met because of our hydro plant. We have to either buy the other tier credits, or like people that are putting in heat pumps or some of those large EVs or that sort of stuff count towards a tier credit, but they ramp up the minimum that you need each year. So in order for us to meet our requirements, we have to purchase. And that's what that budget amount is for next year.
And just for the camera, can you explain what the tier really means?
Yes.
You wanna do that or you want me to?
Go for it.
So the tier is renewable energy, and you have to, it's like offsetting like fossil fuels, putting in geothermal, solar, buying EV cars, and the utilities get credits for that.
So, and then, but this credit of almost 306,000.
That's money out the door that we're gonna have to pay.
Right.
Yeah,
Primarily tier 1.
Tier 1, yeah.
yeah, it's not,
Tier 2, we don't have any responsibility because we're 100% renewable hydro. So we get a pass on
Yep.
all tier 2. Tier 3 are those smaller projects. So the most recent tier 3 example for us is Highgate Elementary. Did their renovation, did heat pumps install. We got X number of credits for tier 3. Those generally are shared in a pool by the 9 VEPSA members. And we generally collectively reach that goal. It's all big stuff. It's all big tier 1 stuff that we have to
Yeah.
pay.
Purchase.
And that requirement keeps going up and the cost keep going up.
And I suspect it'll keep going up
Yeah.
in a
I think that's a
foreseeable future.
fair assumption.
I would say 5 years we'll see a different story.
Yeah.
This will be 10 times that.
just for the camera, VEPSA is Vermont Public Power Authority. It's a conglomerate of 9 of the power companies in the state of Vermont, working collectively together to get the best deals and keep in contact with each other, keep our contacts and working together, tools intact.
Yeah, I mean, like good examples of that is our AMI metering that will be being installed in 2024, which is the automated meter infrastructure. That is a collective project amongst all the VEPSA members. The GIS system, which is mapping of our system, so that right now our bucket trucks carry iPads, similar to like the police department and the fire department. So when we have, when they go out and they have an outage, they're gonna be able to pinpoint where it is. We're gonna be able to, with the mapping, we're gonna know the age of our poles, the size transformer, so that when we need to when we're looking at replacing poles because of their age, we can interrogate this GIS system and find out what poles need to be replaced. It'll be tied into our billing system by the meters. So like AMI, GIS, the billing, all are gonna kind of work in conjunction, but all of the utilities that belong to VEPSA, which are all municipal utilities, are all working together for that. A project that I'm working on right now is there's a group of us that are looking at new billing and financial software. And we're in the early stages of vetting it, and there are some utilities that are in worse shape than others as far as the need, their age of their software. And we're looking to see if there's a viable option out there that we can all go look into and be cost effective. We all work together really well. Each one of the members has a seat on the board, so Bill is our representative to the board. I'm the alternate director to the board, so if in Bill's absence, I can vote. Each utility is allowed a director and an alternate director. The Swanton is one of the founding members of that organization.
Yep.
So going down to the third highlighted item is the AMI project. So that's gonna be, it's, this year, we've paid like $12,000 for that. Next year will be the 43,000 is what I've budgeted. We're sharing it with the water because the water department, so it's figuring out, I figured it based on meters, so 75% of the total meters are electric and 25% is our water meters. So this will be those maintenance costs, you know, your software maintenance costs, the actual project itself, which is the meters that we're gonna be replacing, electric and water, and the hard software pieces that we have to put in. Those will be a capital asset. So those won't be here, they'll be on your balance sheet. But the 43, it'll be about that each year. Like it'll go up a little bit for inflation each year, but it'll be in that vicinity.
And again, this is something mandated by the state.
So we're kind of being forced.
Yeah.
Forced probably isn't the right word, but strongly encouraged. Most utilities, you know, the big guys, GMP, VEC, already have it. WEC has it, Stowe has it. The state is now mandating different tariffs that they want, like electric vehicle charging. They want to be able to have us have a different rate if people charge their electric cars at their home from, like, for example, like maybe like 10 to 2 at night. So unless you've got a smart meter, you can't interrogate a meter to see, okay, did they charge at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock in the morning? So it's those sort of time of use metering. Those are the kind of programs that they want for people to conserve energy, or to be smart about their energy use that they want, and you can't do it without the smart meters. We're gonna see some benefits from it because we're gonna be getting multiple readings in a day on people's meters, and we're gonna be able to set parameters. So if somebody's got a spike in their electric usage, we should be able to see that. If somebody has a spike in their water usage, like they have, you know, their kid left the outdoor faucet on out back, you know, or you have a toilet that's running through, we're gonna be able to see these usages go up as we're interrogating the software, and we'll be able to notify customers and, you know, and send them an email or a phone call and say, hey, you know, something's going on in your with your water, or something's going on in your house electrically. So they can, you know, right now, if we see high water usage, we're only getting that reading once a month. So by the time we get it, you're 30 days, and then maybe a little bit before we can notify somebody. And so it should help the customer also.
Yep. A proactive approach to helping them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So our property insurance for next year in the electric department, the budget is going up from 86,000 to 100,000. So that was the department that had the biggest increase. And there again, also our workman's comp is going to be going up from 33,000 up to about 48,000. And then on page 4, I've increased the budget for interest and dividend income. So the bulk of the income that we get in that line item is actually dividends and distributions from Belco and Vermont Transco. So we just did another Transco purchase of $181,000. You guys signed the paperwork on a while ago. So we'll be seeing distributions on that next year. But quarterly, we are getting, just from the stuff that that's held through BEPSA from us, over 100,000 quarterly. So I like to be conservative on that because I don't know what the bank interest rates are gonna do on the monies that we've got there. So that basically is gonna be, you know, pretty close to what we're getting from the CDAs, or from the Transcos. But the bottom line here is right now, We are budgeting for a loss of about almost $200,000. Is there any questions on the electric? I mean, I know you guys, I've emailed you guys a couple of drafts on this, but this is the first time that.
Just for perspective, the electric company is about a $7 million business.
So we have, it's probably a little more, because I've got just an operating revenue, 6.8 million, and then I've got another other income of 900,000. So you're over 8 million,
Just
So
or over 7,
200,000
almost
would be
8
bad.
million,
almost
about
70.
7.6 million. And then the next department is the water. So page 6 is where I had some adjustments, or some highlighted information. The first one is outside services. So that's going up from 5,300 to just under 20,000. That is the change in that, other than the normal little increases. The bulk of that's the AMI contract for their share of what they'll pay of the maintenance of the AMI system.
You alluded to it before, but the AMI meters will be water and electric, correct?
Right.
That's what,
Yeah.
make sure everybody understands that.
So all of the electric meters will be changed out because they have to be smart meters. The water meters, the bulk of our water meters are close to 30 years old. A water meter life is 15 to 20 years old. So most of the water meters will get changed out in this process. The ones that, because I don't want to change everything at once, the ones that are either new, because we've had, new meters being put in each year as people have built houses or whatever, or as their meters have failed. So the ones that are newer, like 15 years and newer, won't be changed out with this process. But there is like an adapter that you put on those meters that will be able to bring the reading out to the outside. So, but we are basically changing most of the water meters.
And that's about how many?
Oh, is it about 1,200 we're changing out?
1250, yep.
Out of about 1,500. So when these meters are, the ones that we're changing out are original to when the village went to water meters.
I got one in my house.
So, yeah, I mean, I've
So
been here
indeed.
I've been here 19 years and that project was done way before I was here.
Our house is 50 years old.
Yeah, been quite a while. I don't remember one.
So, the property insurance is gonna be going from about 20,000 up to 23. And then, in this one, the health insurance, and it would have gone for the electric department too. There's a bigger jump in the health insurance in electric and water because of those new positions in each one of those departments.
Do you anticipate the new employee in the water area to be here to help when we do the work in the water, the wastewater?
So so right now we have 2 people in the wastewater. This will bring us to 2 people in the water.
Yeah,
And like on calls, they will rotate, so they're only gonna be on call once a month.
so
Instead of-
Todd could go over and help.
They
Have
already
the guys
do.
on board. I know he does, but
They're
make
cr-
it
yeah,
better
they're-
when the work is going
They're
on.
cross-trained and the village's position is that each one of them people hold both a water and a wastewater license. So they're interchangeable to each other. Obviously, the plant that they're assigned to is where they're more familiar, but we do have them be licensed in both departments. And the licensure tests are not easy to take. They're a process and they're difficult. But we've got, Jason is dual certified.
Todd is working on wastewater. We're gonna give him about a year, so the answer is yes.
Yeah,
Dual role, can respond to everything, fully certified within a year for both shops. That's the goal. We'll say a year, if it takes 18 months, we're okay.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the water department right now has a budgeted loss of $194,000 for 2024. This is where Bill and I need to sit down and come back to you guys on whether or not we feel the rates need to be adjusted. I'm comfortable with the amount of money that the water department has in the bank,
Yeah,
enough to be okay with that or a fraction of that as a loss. But you don't want to get behind the 8 ball too much. So we've got to sit down and hammer that out.
And a lot of factors go into that, a lot of discussion in the future. I think we're pretty close to going out to bid for the Highgate water line extension. There's gonna be there's a lot of revenue generators for water in our future. So I think we're probably gonna be able to wait a year, but more to follow.
Yep.
continuously.
So page 8 starts the sewer plant. An item to note is we budgeted for $72,000 for maintenance of plant for 2023. So far, we've only spent $30,000. And when Jason got his numbers together for this budget, we came up with a $36,000 maintenance of plant budget for 2024. So you'll see a decrease in that line item. On the flip side, down farther, chemicals, we had an $81,000 budget for 2023. We're currently sitting at about $70,000. But I know that number's going up because when I approved AP tonight, there's some chemical bills in there that would not be reflected in this number. Jason's number for next year for chemicals is $98,500. But we're using a lot of chemicals to meet our phosphorus reduction requirements. The project for the plant upgrade will happen in 2024 or into 2025. And once that is done, should be able to, we're being told by the engineers, reduce that chemical usage. Because what we're using to meet that phosphorus reduction, we're gonna have a piece of equipment in the plant to assist us in doing that. So on page 10,
Just one question?
Yep.
Any anticipated increase in sewer sales, wastewater sales?
no, and we're kind of flatlined. We have got one business in the industrial park that is basically shuttered. That was a huge revenue generator for us. So until something goes back in or that reopens, we don't have that revenue.
Highgate.
Yeah,
Again,
we've got
next.
the line that Highgate will be putting in, and that's not our line, that is the town of Highgate's line.
Right.
So that's not our project, or anything,
But it will be somewhat of an income stream.
it will be an income stream for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, just for the camera.
Yep. So on page 10, shop tools, we're increasing it from 1,500 up to 6,600. Jason wanted more, like right now, the maintenance guys, and Dan, you can probably elaborate on this, but the maintenance guys kind of have their tools that they kind of go to each plant with. Jason wanted some because he used to be in the maintenance department, and now he's there, so there's some stuff that he does himself instead of having the maintenance guys come down, or they come down and help him. So there's some basic tools that he needs or wants in his plant, instead of, oh, I need it, but it's where the maintenance guys are, they're either here or hydro plant, or, so we budgeted for that. The bottom line for the sewer plant is showing a $27,000 profit, which is, basically, even, so I don't anticipate any changes to the rates of the sewer project for sewer plant for '24. The next one, page 11, is the highway department. Right on the first page is the maintenance of bridge, the fix down there. We have a $200,000 grant. Right now, I've kind of as a placeholder, I've got the grant income and the offset exactly by the amount of the bridge cost. We will be going out to bid early '24.
Within 2 to 4 weeks, yes.
So there is a program through the state where you can, it's basically if you have a need for a plow truck or a bridge repair or whatever, that you can get funding through them, or it's basically be able to do a short-term loan to kind of spread the costs. I've got to look into that more, hoping we can come up pretty close to this 200,000, but you know, we don't know. I mean, last year the bids were pretty high, so we'll see if some of the changes that we made.
I'm gonna guess it's not gonna be underbid.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And this is just a repair or something that's sort of an emergency.
Yeah, this is, again, it's back to the expansion joints on both ends of the bridge.
I think people must be aware of it in general.
Pretty sure people are aware of it. We have,
If they drive over it.
yeah.
So that's the big number. You will see wages and the related benefits are up because we do have that extra person that is learning the ropes in that department with it, because we do have an anticipated retirement in the fall. So we brought this person on board so they can learn the plow routes, learn the equipment while they've got a 40-plus year employee to be able to put his institutional knowledge towards him.
The property tax revenue is,
So, I can go back. If you go to page 20 is the anticipated change in, or the tax rate schedule. So right now, as this budget stands, we are looking at an increase of just under 7 cents in the highway department. So for a tax rate of 0.4153, up from 0.3455. So page 13 is the general department, or the start of the general departments. So this budget, a lot of it is basically this building, Parks and Rec, are what is covered under the general fund itself. So, the only thing I have, everything's kind of stayed status quo in this department. The only line item down at the bottom that I've highlighted is property taxes for $5,000. That is the addition to the property next door for property taxes. And Goose Point, we pay property taxes on also.
but
The
once we annex that, that'll go away, right?
Next door, yes.
Yes. So the tax rate is going up it's going up about 2 cents to 10 cents versus 8 cents in change. Page 15 is the fire department. So the first line item is the town's fire assessment. As has been done and practiced since before I was here, is we use the last 5 years grand list numbers and we average them. So now the town's share is now 77% and the village's share is 23% of the budget. So no matter if you live in the town or the village, you're gonna pay the same tax rate based on that formula. So the town's fire assessment is going from $278,225 to $298,875.
The point there being that if you have a $300,000 house in the village or a $300,000 house in the town, the amount of tax that you pay is the same.
The same.
Even though it sounds different because it says it's, what'd you say, 25, 75?
They're paid 77%.
7%. Yeah, the town's not paying 70% more on each home. Everybody with the same appraised value for property pays the exact same amount of money. So it's only 77-23 because of the fact of the size of the grand list.
Yeah. Because right now, I'll have the breakdown here. The total grand list, as of April of '23, was almost 7.2, and the grand list is 1.6. Down below, in dispatching, I don't have a dispatch number. Have you seen a dispatch number from St. Albans City?
Chief, it's your first day.
I know.
I hammered you already. So last year, we paid $20,520 for dispatching through St. Albans City Dispatch, or through the St. Albans Police Department. They have yet to give us a number. So I've got 25,000 in there as a placeholder. That will adjust when we actually get a number from them. Usually I have a number by now, but I don't have one yet. The only other change, when I sat down with Dan and Jason, is they asked that the equipment replacement fund be increased from 55,000 to 70,000. With the cost of equipment going up, they want to build their equipment fund so that down the road, when the next fire truck is to be purchased, they have a larger chunk to put down on it. So,
And one of the things that came up in another meeting, but you can't put money aside in a slush fund as people would think about,
No.
but you can put money aside for a specific purpose with a specific dollar figure in mind. That's how in a nonprofit that we can do this, but you can't just put money away like a normal business can do for
So-
rainy days.
the highway, the general fund, police and fire all have savings accounts that are for like equipment purchases. The electric department, as a requirement of their bond that we just paid off, they had a debt service reserve and return a contingency fund, which was mandated by the bonding company way back when that bond was taken out. And so that amount is like 1.3 million. That now that bond has been paid for, that frees that money up. But when you look at, we've got significant, we've got a bucket truck that is over 10 years old. By the time we get a new one spec'd and ordered and get it received, that truck will be close to 15 years old. Those trucks are now, the last one we bought was $350,000. We're looking at over $400,000 for this one. We've got stuff up at the hydro plant. So the 1.3 won't go far,
Yeah.
but it's stuff that we
But
can,
my point is the three standalone not-for-profit businesses do have the ability to put a little bit of money away.
no.
Well,
Well, they've got savings accounts.
Well, savings
Well-
accounts, but it's for a purpose.
It's for a purpose. They
It's
don't
not
have,
like a normal
no.
business or your home. You can't, if you had a really good year, you can't stop the money.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to bring about, because people sort of think that, they think, well, why haven't you put money away for X, Y, or Z? Well, we have as much as we can, and then, of course, each year, when we vote, the last three pieces are if there's surpluses left over from the prior budget, instead of rolling it into this year's money, we ask permission to put it in those accounts for future expenditures.
So the fire department, we're looking at a negligible increase. It's 0.0536 versus 0.0528. So a very, very tiny increase in the tax rate. Page 17 is the start of the police department. So revenue items, the police department gets revenue from not only property taxes, but they have a school resource officer that MVU pays for. We have the Swanton Town Police contract. We have the fingerprint machine, and we do we do get some grant money. So part of this ending in 2024, but right now part of the SRO costs are covered by a grant. So we're budgeting for what we're anticipating for revenue from MVU, the town of Swanton, and for the grant. Fingerprints, teachers when they get licensed, nurses when they renew their licenses, those are occupations that have to be fingerprinted. The new for the police department is effective next week. The state of Vermont is not going to be dispatching, VSP isn't going to be dispatching for us anymore. So we've got a contract that the village has entered into with St. Albans City with a $65,000 price tag to it. So that is about half of what our increase in the tax rate in the police department is due to that. Also in this budget is the admin and the other patrol officer position and their associated benefits.
I know this is a lot of money, but it's all justified and certainly worth it, and there's been no, and there should be no call to reduce the police budget.
And if you look at, we can't stand up a dispatch center for $65,000.
No.
When you're looking at staffing, like.
Good for $500,000.
Right,
And local dispatch knows the area better than somebody in Montpelier or somewhere else. So it's a win-win, really.
Another big increase in this is in 2022, you guys voted to offer the police department a Group D VMERS plan, which went into effect in July. So for the budget year we're finishing right now, we had half of the old, which was Group B and Group C, and half of the new, which all but one officer took Group D. So that's a full year for this year. So we're getting the full impact of that this year. And then health insurance with the two new positions went up. We've increased the budget for training for all of our officers. And I increased the budget for transportation expenses up to what we actually are pretty close to what we're spending. Fuel was up, fuel's come back down, but it's really not down to where it used to be. And the other thing we did was we increased the equipment replacement fund from $8,300 to $15,000 because the cost of the cruisers, the latest one was what, $70,000, Matt? I will say the last two cruisers that we purchased came out of the equipment savings fund instead of a loan. So the police department's tax rate is going up about 8.5 cents. So it's up to 60 cents versus 51.24. But of that, about 3.9 cents of that is just that one dispatch line item.
Distinction on page 17 is the Swanton Police contract. Just a reminder that is April 1st through December 31st. We have a current contract that expires March 31st. So that doesn't represent the entire 12 months, that represents the 9 months.
Okay, good, it's good.
Well, it's 3 months of the
Why March-
current contract.
March
Yes,
forward,
correct.
3 months of the current contract,
Yes.
9 months of the
Of the-
proposed
Yes.
contract.
Thank you.
That's to get us back on the same schedule that the rest of us were on,
Yes.
the other departments, I should say.
Page 19 is the commercial building fund. So that's where the RIV is sitting. So the property tax is there, the RIV. I don't know what that, I mean, obviously the taxes are gonna go down from where they are currently because the RIV is gone. I just don't know how much because they didn't have a huge value on the RIV. So, the other thing that runs through this is the, we have a state of Vermont recapture, which is because we've got the, CBVG revolving loan fund runs through this department also. And then, so on page 20, those budgets that we just went through, that will give us a proposed tax rate of $1.17 for 2024, which is just under 18 cents increase, which is a lot. But when you look at it, dispatching, we don't have an option there. We've got, for safety purposes, an additional officer in the police department, plus an admin person to take some of the workload off Matt of admin stuff. And the highway department, adding a position with an anticipated retirement. So at the end of 2024, we will be back down to our normal staffing levels in the highway department. This is a bubble year because we've kind of got 2 people, 1 person extra being trained by a person. There any questions on that?
No.
And then on page 21, this is the schedule of proposed capital additions by department, detailed out for each one of the departments, totaling just over $2.1 million. $500,000 of that is the bridge repair, because here, like, there again, we've been floating so many numbers, I haven't adjusted that to what we actually think it might be.
That could be higher. Depends on what we get for bids, right?
I don't really want to think about that, but it could be.
I don't really wanna do it, but that's another story for another day.
I know you don't.
We've researched this like crazy. I don't know how we came to be the owners of a bridge on a main highway in the state of Vermont, but somehow we did, way back when. But apparently, several other bridges and several other communities are in the same situation. So it's not unique.
Just wrong.
Just wrong, you're right. Okay, I think we're ready for a vote on the approval of the 2024 budget.
No vote
need
tonight
it?
on it. We don't need to adopt this until next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I thought
so
we had
there's
to do
still
it in
some,
calendar
this is your
year.
first public run-through of it, and we'll, in January.
Okay, I rescind that, excuse me.
It's okay, it's all right. I'm sure there's a
Any other,
couple little items.
yep, any other comments or questions about the budget?
Not right now, I'm gonna,
Anyone from the floor?
And if anybody has any questions, just get a hold of me. Call, email, stop by.
I mean, we've been looking at this for 3 months, so it's not a lot of news to us, but I want to thank Lynn and her crew for doing such a good job. Again, when the auditors come, it makes it too easy for them as well. So, again, we're blessed with a good system.
one of the things I'm gonna pull out of here is the child care bill, what our total cost is? Do you happen to have it on the top of your head? I can get it out of here.
I don't,
It's
I
okay,
mean,
I'll get it
and
out.
what's in here is, it's only 6 months worth, so next year, for 2025, it'll be double what we got.
Yeah, unless our salaries increase.
And it was one of those pieces of legislation that wasn't really put out there, as far as an employer's piece.
Well,
It was like one of those things in like the fine print that I happened to see,
I was actively following this as it was going through the legislature. I could find it. Wasn't easy to find the detail. But
Well,
that's
the
what
idea is
legislature-
good. I just hope that all the money that gets collected goes into real childcare to give people relief.
I'm sure there's going to be administrative fees.
I know. Don't get me going on that.
But it's supposed to free up a lot of employees so that people can work.
Well, again, my grandchildren are all beyond childcare, but when my daughters and son were paying it, it was a big hunk of money every month.
Yes,
Still.
much worse now.
Okay, next item is the villagers manager's update. You got the chore, Bill.
Okay, thank you. The first thing, the town select board has reached out, Brian reached out, inquired if we are willing to do the joint annual board meeting prior to town meeting here in this room, February 26th, 7 PM.
When's the informational meeting?
That's it.
That would be it.
That's
it. So that's the joint meeting where we're together. It does, I checked with Diane, it meets the timeline criteria. So they're good with that date, if you're good with that date.
I'm good with that.
I am, just barely.
Okay. So I can let them know, lock that in?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. On that very same day, we have a technical presentation and consultation with Vermont Agency of Natural Resources and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service with our FERC attorney, Paul Nolan, to present all of our findings and studies to date mandated by the state of Vermont. So more to follow as we continue toward relicensing in April of 2024
And this is,
Damn.
for the dam.
and this is a compilation of the data thus far,
Correct.
done by people that we've worked with, Mr. Nolan.
Correct.
That's what I thought, that just so the public knows,
Yeah.
they've been doing a lot of studies on water flow, et cetera.
Lots of studies, a lot more to follow. Again, I say this every meeting, we are not going to be relicensed on time. That doesn't mean they shut us down. We simply run on our old license, much the same as Enosburg and Morrisville. But we're making progress. We're doing everything that we're being asked by the state, Agency of Natural Resources, for our 401 river permit, and then our FERC federal permit. So more to follow on that. We received formal notification that we've been awarded, it's actually a $15,500 grant. We match, it's $13,950, and we match $1,550 for capital planning for public works. So it's the stuff we all talked about where we want to get a prioritized order and have somebody assist us in prioritizing all of our repairs, from water lines to everything that we do, paving, all of that stuff. So that's good news. That's we would have spent this money regardless, so it's an extra nearly $14,000 in our budget. We have until January of 2025 to use that.
To use it?
To use it, to utilize it, yep. Let's talk about downtown parking. I see Renee Chaffee is here in the room. So I got a call from one of Renee's tenants, Karen from Karen's Hair Studio, pointing out some very serious concerns that she has that's impacting her business. So she called on December 18th, and I went down to meet with her right away. And Renee was able to meet with me later that day. A couple legitimate concerns here. So the elderly clientele that are trying to use her business are really having a hard time because there's no, where we bought the Tessier property, 74 Merchants Row, where Renee has the right of way, there's no handicap accessible ramp. There's no viable railing. The parking lot was not well lit. The only handicap parking space is just to the left of the alleyway. So lots of contributing factors that are impacting her business. So they're asking for a railing attached to the pole on the far side near 74 Merchants Row. There's one that's all bent over. If you've been down there, you've seen that. So we got to fix that. That's where Dan, wearing his hat for maintenance, is going to come into play. So he is on that, making a repair. The lighting, it's already up. It was up like 2 days later. So all we did is put the street light facing the street. We simply added another one, the electric department, 2 days later for security. And now that parking lot is well lit. We are exploring with Renee a public-private partnership in terms of creating probably a metal temporary handicap accessibility ramp on that far side, so it would run alongside the building. And I think it's doable. We just have to research it, and then we can talk about cost when we get there. The big $650,000 grant on the backside of the park that'll include doing all of this with a permanent ramp, it's 3 to 5 years away. We can't wait that long. It's just that's too much of a delay, so we're looking for more of a temporary solution. So Renee, did I represent your interest here?
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
very accurate. I'm
Okay.
happy to contribute to a short-term solution on a ramp.
Yep.
It's needed. It's something that I've been asking for the past year and a half that we've owned the building as well, so.
And then the last request was, so if you're looking at the building, can we turn the far left parking spot into another handicap-only parking?
I would appreciate that.
So we're researching that. I mean, I know we can legally. I wanted to get the trustees' opinion and leave the other one. So you have one on each end of the building. You don't have one, nor can you right now put one down near that walkway. It's a little too dangerous. So there's then two. Person would get out. They'd have accessibility at the ramp. They'd have accessibility with a railing. I think it's a pretty easy solution for us to do.
Was it determined the village owned the so-called sidewalk underneath?
That is in the category of nobody knows.
Gotcha.
I wanted Renee to say that she owns it and wants to own it, but I don't think we got that far, right? Is it fair to say no?
I've been told since day one that the village owns the sidewalk, and that I own the building that goes above it, but the sidewalk and the stairs is owned by the village, is everything that's been presented to me. Just my thoughts on that handicap space.
Yes.
You might want to consider putting it in the parking lot. The same sort of problem I have with the other handicap space, with the roadway being there. If someone's using a rear access van, you are unloading into a roadway.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to putting one there, anything's better than nothing, but
Right.
it might also be worth putting one in that side parking lot.
Yep.
Because there is no safe place to use a rear access van there. And then even if you've got a side access van, which that's what we have in our household, our van door opens on the passenger side, so
Gotcha.
that would actually go into the next space.
Right.
So, I don't know if that's just, everyone I've ever used has always been on the passenger side is
Yep.
where the ramp opens. So it's great for someone who's getting out of a typical vehicle, but anybody using a wheelchair van, you need that buffer for the ramp to fold out.
Yep.
So that's where maybe in the side parking lot, that might be a better spot for an additional handicap space.
Yeah, even if it's temporary, I'll connect
Yeah.
with you, with Dean and his team on an appropriate location.
Yep.
The concern there is we'll have to at least do some better hard pack and remove any of those potholes. It's still dirt. It will be dirt for 3 years,
Yep, better
but
than nothing else.
it is, yeah. Okay, good.
Do we need a roof over that ramp?
I think if we maintain it properly, it'll be okay. It's still an improvement, but you're right, it's a liability. We talked about that. I don't wanna say your offer unless you're gonna offer it here.
I mean, I'm willing to pay the guy that I pay to shovel the steps, to shovel the ramp, but I don't necessarily want the ramp and liability of someone getting hurt on the ramp to belong to me. But I do pay a guy who's fully insured to clear the steps, even though the village technically owns the steps. Happy to just pay him additional to clear the ramp as well. But again, we will need to figure out who's liable if somebody gets hurt on the ramp.
Fair enough. So if the trustees are okay, we'll explore all of these. Some of these are very easy, quick fixes. The railings we can do those this winter. We can certainly explore and hopefully with a goal of very early spring installing handicap accessible temporary ramp, metal of good quality, and going from there, identifying a parking spot.
I have no objections for you gentlemen?
No,
No?
it's the right thing to do.
Okay, yeah.
Go for it.
All right, more to follow. Anything else in that regard, Renee?
Sounds good?
I did speak to Renee and we had this conversation briefly, so in fairness to her, since she is here, we did the official land survey of that property, 74 Merchants Row, and we discovered that we owned a little bit more property than we had thought, both behind the location and behind Merchants Row, which is where right now Renee's tenants currently park. And I, at least from my point of view, as the village manager said, we are in no position right now to evict any of those people from those parking spots, and we're gonna have a great relationship like we have right now. We're gonna continue to do so. Although, I'm sensing perhaps a swap. Ownership of the walkway, continued use of the parking lot. Just
I think
joking.
we can make
I'm
deals.
kinda
I know,
joking.
I can make
I'm
deals.
kinda joking, but not
I
really.
think, yeah, we can certainly make deals, that's everybody's best interest. I want what's good for downtown,
Yep.
and having rented apartments is good for downtown too, so.
It certainly is. Okay, good. Received a communication from folks at the Northern Forest Canoe Trail. So we're scratching our heads, and I want to pick your brains historically. They claim that there is a cement pad somewhere way past the tennis courts where historically there was an informal agreement from the trustees that allowed them to do overnight camping. We don't know where it is. They're gonna come and visit with us, but it gets better. Their ask is quite simple. They want to explore an increased partnership with a formal agreement to enhance the ability to camp in that area, but above the tennis courts. So whether it's down near the skate park, Northern Forest Canoe Trail, camping only, they pay for any improvements. This is an early exploration discussion. They want to come in person with a proposal and seek a formal arrangement where people can camp there. The dangerous, right, from the police perspective, it's just for Northern Forest Canoe Trail camping, but we know that's probably going to invite others to camp, so it becomes an enforcement issue. But we can have that discussion down the road.
We have had complaints about camping previously in that area past the tennis courts in the woods.
And was that, when you responded, was that Northern Forest Canoe Trail
No,
folks?
no.
Like never was.
During the fishing,
Not that I'm aware of, no.
during the fishing season?
No, it was, I think some people just had set up an encampment there.
Was this area just below Webster Terrace?
They said, he didn't know.
Okay.
This gentleman said it's a concrete pad below the tennis
We're
courts.
not gonna put it on camera.
So historically, no memory of that. I mean, they're seeking a more formal resolution anyway, and I think that's
Let's come have a
good.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, Dan, I'm gonna talk about you from your hydro, your third hat now that you wear 3 hats in the organization. So, we talked about Unit 1 being down. It's been sent out. They did a 3D model. They can replicate it. We just don't have a cost estimate unless that changed in the last couple hours.
No, the design phase is almost done. They can make it in 2 pieces, which makes reassembling expedient and cheaper. And once I get the 3D printed model, we approve it, then they'll give me the cost estimate. So we're we're closer to the end than the beginning.
Well, you're on a roll. Talk about Unit 2 and how that went down on December 21st.
Unit 2 was down with a speed sensor issue. Once we got that fixed, we proceeded to put it back online. The thrust bearing then proceeded to overheat. So we took it out of service, ran an additional test, and found there to be a problem. So that's currently out of service. I have a crew coming in next Thursday that's gonna help us and teach us how to disassemble that unit. It's almost 100 years old, and they're gonna help us diagnose and put it back into service. That's actually gonna be a quicker fix than the Unit 1. These are the 2 smaller units though. The 2 bigger ones are running. Like today, we made 7.5 megawatts all day for 24 hours. So. It's the 2 older ones, but one's gonna be a longer fix than the other, but 2 shouldn't be that bad. Parts availability being what they are right now.
So the concern, once again, and we keep talking about this, right? Unit 3 just came back online.
Yep.
Unit 3 and 4, good to go. Unit 5, our newest one, but our baby, online, functioning. So we hope to get these 2 back online relatively soon, because that water is cranking right now, and that's liquid gold. On December 18th, we activated our EAP for high water level activation. At the same time, it was being rewritten, annual rewrite. So it is nice when you don't have any damage, but you get to fully execute. It basically was a real drill with all the moving parts, all the activations being notified, to include the Emergency Operations Center. You have to notify FERC of the event. You have to do a written report to FERC. Yeah, and we escaped any damage. So again, when you see it work and the notifications to include the evacuations off of Wall Farm Road, pretty good. We also had Jason Starr come out to check the Foundry Street pump station. Again, high water, but not so much that it put any pollutants back in the river, and we escaped this one. But these, July and December, you wouldn't think you'd get events like this, and that's 2 significant events this year. That's it for hydro. I gave you a couple handouts, gave you 3 handouts. These are take-home readings for the public. You'll see these in our annual report. The Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation report is a 1-pager that is in essentially everybody's town or village report. And it simply talks about the highlights that impact Franklin County and the business community this year. What's not in there is the good news that we are in Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation's top 10 for projects related to what we're trying to do at 124 First Street and the renovations here. So that could be important when it comes time to identify and secure federal funding. And then the other one is the Regional Planning Commission report, Northwest Regional Planning Commission, again included in our annual report. That simply highlights everything specific to Swanton, in particular Swanton Village, so that can be included in our annual report. So Diane works her magic, gets all of that in the report, and everybody will get a copy of that. And then you have in front of you, front and back, I just want to make sure that everybody is good with this. We said we would do 25 additional open houses, public safety facility complex renovation open house dates. So they are in front of you. Again, we wanted to make sure that we say we held one every day of the week and at different times. And times have been consistent. When we hold them during a day, we do them at 10, 2, and 6. So 4 more in January: Sunday, January 7th, Thursday, January 11th, Monday, January 15th, Thursday, January 25th. And I sent you all this for your minutes. Then in February, same thing: Friday, February 2nd, Wednesday, February 7th, Thursday, February 15th, Friday, February 16th, and Wednesday, February 21st. So again, as a reminder, these are not warned, they're not taped, they're not meant to meet a quorum, they're for the public. So you have the dates and you can select which ones you can attend, you might want to attend. Of the 10 so far, there's only been 1, and it was a midday where we had nobody show up. Other than that, they've been fairly well attended. And the tours, great questions asked. I think it's serving its purpose. which is simply educating our voters what we're trying to do, and then it's in their hands.
That's all we can do.
Correct.
Yeah, I would like to add, this is well worth doing. One, it highlights the issue we're trying to render, plus also it gives you a chance to really understand what your taxes pay for, what's going on here, what's the pulse of the village. I think it's worth doing for every taxpayer.
And that's all I have, except for a very brief executive session when we get there.
Okay.
Okay, well, before we go for the executive session, I'd just like to say this is our last official meeting for the year. We've had a really good year. We have a new manager who's been very energetic and done a lot of great things. We appreciate that. This village is, I think, well-run, well-representative, it's safe, we have all the right people doing the right jobs. It's a great place to raise your kids, a safe place to live, and I'm just glad my wife and I picked this town in 1971. Really good. Oh, I did marry a Swanton girl, I have to say that. But in any event, I'd like to say thank you to my fellow trustees. This is my last year, and it's been a fun run. With that, can I have a motion for an executive session for personnel and real estate?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Prior to that, any other necessary business?
Oh.
Or any open
Oh,
discussion?
Again, sorry, any questions? And again, our doors are open too. Don't be afraid to call in and ask a question, or please come to a meeting. We're very open.